Okay, so I've got a piece of clay, it's been wedged, and today I'm going to talk about creating a pinch pot or a pinching form. And what this is actually going to end up being is the base for a coil vessel. And so I'm going to create the base for my coil vessel out of pinching. Now, I would really recommend just practicing for a while, making pinch pots and getting the feel for how to do that before you actually create your base for your final coil vessel. So I'm going to show you the method for that. Now I'm going to take about half of my clay that I had from wedging. So it's pretty small. I mean, I have kind of big hands, but it's maybe the size of a tennis ball, something like that, maybe even less. And then I'm going to just take my hands and try to make it into as much of a ball as possible, just a nice round ball. I kind of slap it a little bit, stuff like that. So I have my ball here. Now the next step is I'm going to take my thumb, I'm holding it in my hand, and I'm going to take my thumb and just press it into the clay. I'm not going to press all the way down to my hand. I'm just pressing, going to go to maybe this far from the bottom. So I've created a hole. Looks like that. The next step is why it's called a pinch pot. I'm going to just start pinching the clay. And as I pinch, I'm going to turn it. I don't want to squish it really hard. I want to press it really soft and turn it and change it little by little. I'm also shaping it with my other hand. So it's a turning and shaping of it. So I did a couple turns, and this is what I have so far. Now, the clay is soft, so it's probably going to be more gentle than you realize you have to press. If you press real hard, it's going to get real thin and skinny, and it won't support your coils. So I'm just going to slowly turn and gently press, and I can also shape it into the shape that I'm going for the base of my coil vessel. And that'll take some practice of making pinch pots to learn how to make the shape that you want to create. Because keep in mind, it's going to be the bottom roughly 2 to 3 inches of your coil vessel. So as I turn and gently press, it's opening up little by little. Looks like this. Now a lot of times when you're creating a pinch pot, it's sometimes good to have thin walls. In this case, it's not. We don't want the walls too thin, because if the walls are too thin, they're not going to support the coils that we're going to put on top of them that is going to create our coil vessel. So we want to keep them, at least a finger width thick. It's okay if it's even a little bit more thick, like the thickness of a thumb or something, unless you got really skinny fingers, then thicker than that. Maybe about the thickness of this permanent marker here would be a good thickness for my walls. And I can kind of do this, make it a little flatter on the bottom. And it's okay if it takes a few turns and a few practices to get the shape that you want and to get good at this. That's how you learn, is by practicing and doing something a few times. So I've got a shape here, a form that I think is going to be a good form for my bottom of the one that I'm trying to create. It's not too thin. It's also not too thick. We don't want the bottom, like that bottom edge can be really thick. We want that to be a consistent thickness all throughout. But I kind of flatten the bottom so it's stable, and I have a nice little pinch pot vessel that I think is going to work pretty good for my coil vessel.